Okay guys, we've drawn the route that we took on our trip out onto a map to give you some indication as to exactly where we went and give you a scale of the journey. The journey was just under 7,000 kilometres. The Ranger performed about 20 litres to 100 kilometres pulling a 3-tonne caravan, and the cost of the fuel roughly was about $2,000. Okay, so we started on a Thursday evening, Thursday the 4th, and that's Thursday the 4th of March. And on the first night we drove from Berrenboke in the Brisbane Ranges to just outside Delaquin, and that we stayed there at the Pretty Pine Hotel. Now that's a free camp, it's a pub, it's just, there is power and there is showers and toilets there and water. And all they ask is that you spend a bit of money in the pub. We had a meal, which wasn't a bad meal, and we also had a few drinks in there. Check out part 1 for that one. Okay, the following day we got up and we moved on from there up to Hillston, and we stayed there again, a free camp on the river, Lachlan River Bridge. That was quite a nice little free camp. Next morning we got up from there and we travelled up to just the other side of Burke. And we stayed there again at another free camp, which was Mays Bend, which was a really nice free camp. Quite a way off the road, and you do need to be careful. If it's wet, you could have trouble. But right on a horseshoe bend on the Darwin River, so yeah, very nice. Following day, we moved on from there, and we travelled up to Cunnamulla, and we stayed at a tourist park there. That was a good day. We had a meal in the town. Yeah, I mean, it was a good spot. Just to let you know, the Kidman Way, which is the road we're on, does take you through outback New South Wales and outback Queensland. I would suggest if you're planning on doing that, and we didn't do this, but we thought about it afterwards, and while we were on journey, probably should have had one, is to either rent or borrow or even buy a sat phone, because if you break down on these roads, there's very little signal on your telephones, and that's with Telstra, just nothing much there. Okay, so we stayed in Cunnamulla overnight, and from there we moved on the following day to up to here, which was the Barcoo River. Again, a free camp. It was just to pull in at the side of the road. And yeah, it was okay. It was good for a night, just for a stopover. Now the following day we got up and we had intended to take this road across here, which would have cut off a huge amount of journey, but it had chucked it down with rain overnight. And what we found was that road actually had a sign up saying 4-wheel drive access only, do not travel when wet. We started to travel along it, probably got to about here and realised that the road was going to get turned into a graded road. So we had to do a 3-point turn with a caravan, turn around and go up the long way. That added over 100 kilometres in an hour to our journey. However, we did it and we travelled across, and the next stop was the Ruby Vale Caravan Park. Now this is a place that definitely we'd like to go back to and have another look. One day there was fantastic, but wasn't long enough. So the whole purpose of this trip, well, that was a bit of a flying visit because it was done over 3 weeks, and obviously some bad weather thrown into boot, but was to get an idea as to where we'd like to go back to, and that's definitely one of them. Ruby Vale, certainly high on the list. The food in the pub was good. Yeah, we'd like to go back there. So we only stayed there the one day. From there we moved on and we took ourselves up to Charters Towers. We had 2 nights there. Yeah, it was an interesting area, a lot of Second World War stuff going on up there. History, yeah, there's quite a lot of history in that town. Again, if you did Ruby Vale, you could probably break it down and do that as well. You could do 2 weeks, maybe a week there and a week there. But yeah, interesting place, but definitely Ruby Vale's my favourite so far as we've gone on the trip. 2 days there, and then from there we travelled up through Townsville and we came down to Airlie Beach. Now this was the purpose of the trip, which was Tanya's 50th. We wanted a night on the reef sleep. Now the night is actually 2 days, the 13th and the 14th. So you get there 6 o'clock, they take you out to the reef, you're there all day, they feed you and give you as much alcohol as you can drink really, and you don't leave there until about 3 o'clock the following day. So yeah, it's pretty much 2 full days on the reef. So obviously we had the caravan at the Airlie Beach Caravan Park for the 12th, the 13th and the 14th, and that was the Sea Breeze Tourist Park. A very nice campsite, really nice swimming pool there, great for the kids. Yes, seriously recommend that one, that's a good one. However, we only really had a bit of the time on the 12th and we left on the 14th, so we didn't really get a huge amount of time there ourselves. From there, we travelled down and we went down to Cape Palmerston. Now, we also travelled and did Notch Point to have a look at. Now, Notch Point is a free camp. Cape Palmerston Holiday Park is not free, but it is a really nice campsite. And I would have to say, on the scale of what we saw and costs, it's probably one of the better ones on the entire trip. Really give it sort of 10 out of 10 for its layout and the way it is. Very nice. Watch the video for that one. That was on the 15th. So on the 16th, we moved down from there and we moved down to Keppel Sands Caravan Park. Now this took us all the way through the cane fields. Yeah, it was a nice caravan park. Now this was the first day that we started to see a change in the weather. All the way up until this point, the weather had been really good. On that night, it was pretty windy and wet, and we saw one of the other campers there lost their awning on their caravan, actually got blown clean over the top. So yeah, that was the start of our poor weather. Although the next day we woke up, wasn't particularly terrible, and we went down from there, travelling down, and we went down to the Bundaberg AAOK. Now this was one that we threw in because we'd spoken to someone at Charters Towers, a barmaid, and she turned around and told us that the Bundaberg factory was, or distillery was worth a look. So we decided we'd stay there and go and have a look. And yeah, again, something I would seriously recommend if you're in the area. Go and have a look at the distillery. The rums that they sell in there are great anyway, and they do some really nice liqueurs. It isn't expensive and it's quite informative, and yeah, it's fun as well. So do that one, that's really interesting. From there, not too far away, we headed down and into Hervey Bay. Now at Hervey Bay, we had just the one day there. Nice campsite, absolutely packed in. Really like sardines, very busy, but beautiful campsite right on the beach. Quite expensive though, I think it was $53 a night at Hervey Bay. From there we moved on, came down and we stayed in Brisbane. We caught up with some friends there. At this point the weather was still okay, but it was starting to turn. We didn't see much rain at that point, it was still okay, but we were seeing things on the news about what was going on in this area, which we had planned on our route. So in Brisbane, we went to the four-wheel drive show and we caught up with a friend of ours, John, who's working there for 10 months. Okay, the following day, we headed off to Coffs Harbour, which was just down here. Okay, that's when the poor weather really started. So we had a day there and it was pretty wet and ordinary. Wasn't torrential, but yeah, it was pretty bad. The following morning we woke up, we decided that we would have a look as recommended by other friends, to look at the New South Wales live traffic app and see what roads were open, because there was a lot of flooding going on down here. And we wanted to get to Sydney to see some friends. Now the app told us that we could get down to Taree, which is where the worst of it was, and then we could go inland from Taree and get across to Sydney that way. Now that was actually complete rubbish, couldn't do it. We took 2.5 hours to get down in this area that's red, to get down there, to be turned around and told that we have to go all the way back up to Grafton. That wasted over 5 hours of our day, 2.5 hours each way here, and probably it was another 100 kilometres from Coffs Harbour back up to Grafton. On that day I drove probably for 10 hours. So we ended up obviously going from Coffs Harbour down to Taree, back up from Taree, back to Coffs Harbour, up to Grafton. There was a whole, pretty much 80 litres of fuel there, and back. And then across from Grafton, across to Glen Innes, where we stayed the night, and that was at the showgrounds, and that was, I think, a $20 campsite, which was pretty good because there was power there, water and toilets with showers. There was no way we could go any further down here, so the rest of our journey and plans to go all the way down through Bateman's Bay and all that was all thrown out the window. We couldn't do any of that because of the flooding that was involved. So we had to come up pretty quick with a new plan, and the new plan was to head inland and to try get away from the bad weather as quickly as possible. So on the 22nd, we had a big day. It was driving from Glen Innes down to Forbes. And that was going up through the Gibraltar Ranges, which was absolutely stunning through there. Really, really pretty. And certainly somewhere else we'd like to go back and have a look. So down to Forbes. Forbes, we stayed the night. Where did we stay in Forbes? We stayed at the Wego Park in Forbes, which was actually a free camp, and that was along the river. Probably wasn't the best idea, but the river was, there was a lot of other campers there, and the river wasn't really that badly flooded there. It was high, but that was all you could say about it. Next morning we got up early and we travelled from Forbes down to Millawa, and at Millawa we stayed. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. We went down to Millawa. And we stayed there for 2 days. We did a wine tour around the wine region of the area, did Brown Brothers, and I did a day trip out around Beechworth, which was a good day. So on the 25th, so we stayed there 21st, 3rd and 24th, and on the 25th we got up and we found another free camp, which was Casey Weir, down near Benalla. Now actually that one, we were the only campers there when we arrived. And we wanted to do the silo art, but what we ended up doing was tagging the silo art onto our trip home and trip to Mount Franklin. But yeah, Casey Weir, definitely a good place for a free camp. If you get a chance and you're in the area, go and have a look at it. It's quite good. There's good fish in there. There's some Murray cod in that river. It does need really a tinny to get to them because there's a lot of weed there, or it needs the weed raking out. And then you'd have a really good area to fish. Okay, from there we woke up and we decided we would head off to Mount Franklin. So we shot across and got to Mount Franklin, and we had one night there. We did plan 2, but unfortunately we woke up on the Saturday morning to find out that we needed to go straight home and get COVID tested and self-isolate until we get the results because of an outbreak in Brisbane. Which we did, and we got the results back this morning, and both of us are clear on that one. So now we're back home at the Brisbane Ranges with a whirlwind trip all the way around Queensland and back. Yeah, it was good. The Ranger performed really well. I was really happy with the Ranger. Caravan, really, really good as well. Very few issues, but I will go through it. Some of the things that we've been impressed with, and some things we've been less impressed with. Okay, cheers, thanks for watching guys, catch up with you later. Okay guys, well we're finally home, a couple of days earlier than we planned. Obviously with this outbreak of COVID in Brisbane, we had to dash home, go get a COVID test and then self-isolate. So the van's back, looking a little bit second-hand, so it's just going to get a wash very shortly. And I was going to go through, once I've done that, I'll go through some of the things that have worked really well, some of the things that may not have worked quite so well, and just give you a quick heads up on that. Anyway, catch up with you later. Cheers. Okay, an update now on what did well and what didn't do so well on the trip. Just to give you a heads up. Let's come around to the car. Okay, so there's the final tally. That's to home, so that's 6,968 kilometres and an average fuel consumption of 20.6 litres to 100 kilometres, and my total driving time was 103 hours and 37 minutes. So yeah, fair haul. Now let's go through what was good and what was not quite so good. Okay, towing mirrors. So I went for the Malenkos. We couldn't afford to go out and splash out on Clearviews or the MSAs. They are on a shopping list for the future, but we couldn't afford it at this stage with the trip as well. Now in 7,000, just about 7,000 kilometres, I only had this happen, where it folds back by blast of a road train, happen 3 times. And I had a lot of road trains go by. The mirrors didn't fall off, they didn't move. Vibration through the mirror, it was there. It wasn't horrendous, you can see what's going on behind you, but yeah, there is some vibration, and certainly if you run with Clearviews or the MSA fixed mirrors, the towing mirrors, you'll have a lot less problems with vibration. But for a cheap fix, I think these are about $140. Can't argue with them, they've been good, and I'll hang on to them until I'm ready to upgrade. So Malenkos get a big tick from me. I'm quite happy with those. The GME radio that I'm running, which is I don't even know the brand of it or the model. It's the TX3100, which is that one there. Look, it's not a top of the range radio. It's up there in quality, but it's not a top of the range. There's far more better ones out on the market now. But what I can say in its favour, it gave us nice and clear communication, no problems whatsoever. No real white noise. The squelch works really well. Very happy with it, so no problems there. Stone Stomper, which is, just move this back. So the Stone Stomper, which is basically, this bit goes on your tow bar, which prevents rocks from flying, and then you got this bit that goes on the front of your van, and it's supposed to stop stones and things hitting from the front of your van. Well, it's done a pretty good job, to be fair. We've done some graded tracks. There are a couple of stone chips on there, but that could well be down to the fact we live on a graded track, and we had this van for about 3 or 4 weeks before we got the Stone Stomper. So you know, it could be from that, but certainly no real damage to speak of. Even the gas bolts are pretty good, they've not been hit. So yeah, happy with that. This bit here, which is an optional thing, which is the piece of conduit which goes into 2 pockets and stops the sag on the Stone Stomper. I will refit that, and I will do it without the screw through the plastic, which I think is most likely what's caused it to break, because there's already a hole in it and it's broken in exactly the same both sides. So yeah, I reckon that was because of the drilled through part. So yeah, big tick for the Stone Stomper. Certainly saves you an awful lot of damage to your van. The other thing I did with this van is I put the mud flaps in, which go all the way across the front, and the idea of that was just to stop any flying rocks taking out any of my plumbing. Along with that, I also pool noodled all my drainage pipes where I could. Now obviously you can't get all the way around them with a pool noodle. You do need to buy the ones with holes in, and you just slice them down the side and just zip time on. Anything is going to be better than nothing. We had no issues at all with the plumbing on the van or anything getting damaged underneath. So obviously, you know, a sign of a well put together van, and also getting the protection right to start with. Now, chairs. These are the 2 chairs that we took with us. They were brand new. They're Dacia 380s. Now they're not a really high-end chair, they're only about $80 each. However, I'm very disappointed with them. The first time I sat on one, and I'm not huge, these are rated to 145 kilos. The first time I sat on one, it split. Dacia did the right thing and sent us out a replacement. The reason it split, it actually came apart on the stitching. Now, I just want to show you this. Look at the state of the stitching on these. It's just, you know, yeah, it's an $80 chair. Look at this one. This is the wife's chair. It's starting to split. The stitching is starting to come apart. you know, disappointed. I would have thought these would last one whole trip, but alas no. This is my chair. Stitching's better across the back. However, all coming apart here, look, and here, and all across here, not stitched properly. And then let's just flip the chair over. It's burst open here, look, stitching's gone, and this whole section here is all apart as well. So I've got to say it, Darche, stop selling these chairs. They're not, you know, Darche should be it is a premium brand. $80 chairs, yeah, they're only $80. However, what we've replaced them with is chairs that we've already got these chairs actually in a different format without the leg recliner, but we've already got the same chairs, and they're 6 years old, the ones we've got. These chairs are about $120, $130 each, full recliner, no signs of any pull stitching on them whatsoever. The stitching is really good, and I would say yes, they're a bit heavier, but we weren't going to be bitten twice. These are rated to 150, those are rated to 145. These will go in the bin very shortly. They're no good to anyone. We've already sent one back, and got, well, actually we didn't even need to send it back, we just got one replaced under warranty, but I'm not going to continue with them, it's just pointless. These chairs ended up costing us $240 on our trip because we didn't think they would survive the rest of the trip, so we had to go out of our way and buy 2 new chairs. So big cross on the Darche 380. You know, if you want a cheap chair, look elsewhere. $80 is not a cheap chair to be sat in once. My wife is she's probably only about 100 kilos, if that. Probably 90 kilos, and she's already had her chair starting to split open. So yeah, they're just poor quality. They really should be $40 chairs, not $80 chairs. You wouldn't mind too much if it was if they were that cheap, but you know, generally speaking, Darche are very good, and unfortunately this is one they probably shouldn't be doing. Okay, inside the van, well, nothing broke. We did have one issue, and the one issue was I forgot to latch this door, and this door was sliding around while we were driving and actually slid off its runners, and did some damage to it. When I got home, I had to take this latch off, and once I got the latch off, it's all fixed now. It was just needed hanging back on properly and locating again on the bottom. But yeah, I can't really blame Franklin for that. That was just one thing we didn't check before we drove off. And we found it when we got to the next campground. It had been sliding backwards and forwards as we were driving, and obviously it had jumped off the runners. If it's locked and bolted like this, it can't go anywhere. And this I'm just going to show you, it all works as it should. So this drawer, you know, it all slides shut and it reopens again, no problems. So the important thing with these is to make sure you lock that one and that you lock, oh, come on Richard, that one. So anyone who's got a CX22, don't forget to do it because it causes you grief. So that's lesson learnt. In the bedroom area, nothing went wrong here, nothing broke, no water leaks, nothing. Really impressed with the van. Cooker, everything else, we didn't even use a full bottle of gas while we were away in the 2 weeks. Fridge, people that say that 3-way fridges don't deal with the hot temperatures up north, this one does. This is the new Dometic. It has got the Darwin dome on the top of it, had no problems. Everything's still frozen in there, no issues at all. Really happy with that. Works perfectly well, and it's not draining your batteries all the time. I have my little Waco old CF35 in here just as a drinks fridge, and that's just been plugged into one of the cigar lighter sockets. Again, no problem. Sirocco fans on when we weren't on paid sites, very good. Just keep the airflow movement. Do that in conjunction with opening up the windows and you've got a reasonable van that's quite cool. The only thing I will knock the van for, and anyone who's thinking of buying one will find it, part of the reason we like the van is also part of the reason we don't like the van. What we really like about the van is the bedroom at this end, then the shower and bathroom, all separated with separate doors, and then obviously the kitchen and club lounge. That's what we really like about it. What we didn't realise is this air conditioning unit will struggle, because of these bulkheads here, to get cool air into the bedroom. So you will find that whilst this end of the van is really, really nice and cool, the other end of the van, it gets a little bit muggy in there. That said, you know, you put the Sirocco fans on, you blow the air down the van. And I was chatting with a guy when we were at Charters Towers who had a Lotus with exactly the same layout. He had exactly the same issue with his van. His van was 140 grand. So, you know, it's the layout that's the issue. There's not a lot you can do about it. But his answer was 4 Sirocco fans, 2 down the end of the van at this end and 2 in the bedroom. We've only got 1 in the bedroom and 1 down this end. I will intend to put another one in the bedroom and another one at this end. That should cure the issue. Yeah, so all good. That's happy with that. As far as dust ingress goes, well, really not a huge amount. A little teeny amount around the window sills on some of them, just so you can see across here. That's all we got. The back one was probably the worst one, which you can see along there, but just hardly anything. You know, really, really impressed with the van. A little bit on the inside of the glass there. Look, I don't know if you can see that. There's a bit of dust on the inside of the glass. A little bit around the bottom of the step. A little bit on the inside of this glass. And I did notice just now along the top edge of this is a little bit of dust there as well. But yeah, nothing much. Really, really quite happy, considering this is not an off-road van. This is actually a road van. I mean, it's a semi-off-road if you like, because it's got a riser on the actual chassis. But yeah, all good. So I don't think there's anything else to discuss. Oh yeah, one problem we did have for the van, which we found out last couple of days, was the water pump. It was actually, when you turn the water off, it was still pumping, just pulsing. So it was, you were getting that burp, 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 burp. Now the water pump lives underneath the fridge here in our compartment, and all that was, and it's working fine now. Yep, it's working fine. All that was the pump needed cleaning. So just took the head off of it, washed it under some hot water, put it back together, it's cured it. So I must have picked up a little bit of muck in my water. It's got into the pump and it's caused it to play up. And you could actually hear that, because you could hear it prime and then you could hear it stop, and you could hear a hiss, and then it would prime again, stop, hiss. So you could hear the one-way valve wasn't operating properly. But yeah, we fixed that. I didn't have any issues with plugging into mains water with it overflowing the tank. That wasn't ever a problem, which is unusual on a new van. It quite often happens with swarf and things like that. Did get a few pinstripes on the van. That was actually here, not anywhere else. And the van's come up pretty good. All cleaned, you know, as good as it's going to be anyway. Okay, so that's everything for today. If you like the videos, please give us a thumbs up, leave any comments down at the bottom, and please subscribe. Just for the record, we're not sponsored by June four-wheel drive, we're not sponsored by Darshay, and we're not sponsored by Franklin. So everything that we've bought, we've paid full price unless it's on sale. So every bit of information, also with Malenko, every bit of information that I've given you is my opinion on it, and it's based on what I think is value for money and what I think is maybe not quite so good value for money. But yeah, hopefully don't offend anyone. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video.